So, hello and good morning. This is Karen Hamstra for Title Talk on March 23rd, coming to you live from my kitchen. I'm sorry to report I have no big stack of new materials to show you this morning. However, I thought what we would do is tell each other what new books we've read while we've been home. I must confess, I've only read one new book so far, but I do have two others in the works. I'm almost to finish the second book. The one I have read is A Death in the Family by, let me move my fingers, Michael Stanley. This is a Detective Kubo novel, and I have talked about these books before, his newest one. But this is kind of, I think, maybe the fourth one in the series or so. These take place in Botswana, and I don't know if you've read any of the Alexander McCall Smith books, which also take place in Botswana, but this has been labeled McCall Smith with a dark edge and even darker underbelly. You know, a lot of people don't like McCall Smith because he's too goody-goody. I love McCall Smith though, but these are very nice, very realistic. It just gives you a fascinating glimpse into how life is in Africa, in Botswana. Not so much in this book, but some of the other books in the series, you really get a feel for how things are in some of the surrounding countries to Botswana. This one, there is a death in Kubo's family. Kubo is a nickname for the lead character, David Bingu. He's called Kubo, that means hippopotamus in the Setswana language, which is the language of Botswana. And he has that name because he does kind of resemble a hippopotamus, and he sort of eats like one most of the time too. But nonetheless, he is a brilliant detective, and he depends a lot on his insights. And there are several different crimes going on in this book. You'll learn a lot about mining for minerals, how the Chinese have tried to control mining throughout the world. They figure heavily into this novel, which is kind of timely in this present moment with the COVID-19 virus and all having come from China. So I think you would really enjoy this. The bad thing is I don't know that too many of these books are available on either Overdrive or Hoopla, but you could place holds for them. You can check, maybe some have been added, titles are being added all the time. And you could place a hold on any of our books, of course, and as soon as we reopen, then we can try to get them to you as they become available. I would highly recommend it. It's just a really fascinating read. A couple of my librarian friends have really gotten into Michael Stanley, and my husband has read all the Michael Stanley books so far, except for one that we haven't been able to get yet. So that is a definite keeper. The book I am almost to finish is one I told you about a few weeks ago on Title Talk when it was brand new. It is called Trace Elements by Donna Leone, and it is, as you might be able to see, a Commissario Guido Brunetti mystery. It takes place in Venice, Italy, in happier times in Italy. They are having a heat wave. This is a summer novel. They have a heat wave in Venice. And the interesting thing is you do learn a lot about life in Venice through these books. There's very little air conditioning in Venice, which is true of a lot of Europe as a whole. No air conditioning in the police station, no air conditioning in Guido's apartment, which is on either the third or fourth floor of an apartment building. However, he does have a balcony where he spends a lot of time sitting and pondering the case. This is just a very gentle read. It is not apparent through most of the novel whether there even has been a crime. He's really investigating to see whether a crime has been committed. And it's all based on the last words of a dying woman. He and his colleague were there when she died, and she was implying that her husband had been murdered. So they spend the novel trying to figure out whether he really was murdered, and then, of course, to try to figure out why and who did it. As with a lot of authors, it seems like once they really start cranking out the novels, sometimes the size of the type increases. So even though this isn't large print, the print is pretty good sized, and there's a lot of space in between the lines. So if you do have any kind of vision difficulties, this is one you might be able to read. And the good news is I know that this is available in some format on Hoopla. I saw a picture of it on Hoopla the other day. I'm not sure whether it's audio, ebook, or both, possibly both. And you could also check on Overdrive. With Hoopla, you can get it immediately, so that is a big advantage to Hoopla, but you only get 8 titles a month. We have upped the number of titles you can check out a month during the COVID-19 crisis. The other book, which I have just begun, and let me see how many pages I'm on, page 89. This is The Beekeeper's Apprentice by Laurie R. King. This is a Mary Russell Sherlock Holmes book. This is the first book in the series. When Mary Russell is 15 years old, when she first stumbles across Sherlock Holmes, literally, as she's out on a walk, and has her nose in a Latin book and literally stumbles across Sherlock Holmes, who is prone on a path observing a bunch of bees. And they strike up a friendship which continues throughout the rest of his life. He's quite a bit older than she is. He's 54 and she is 15 at the time the novel begins. And she goes off to Oxford to study. This is during World War I in England. And meanwhile, he also trains her to be a detective. The first 50 pages of the book are mostly background, but then about page 50, they start solving cases together. And he also gives her a case to basically solve on her own. It really gets very readable at that point, quite fascinating. My husband, I actually brought this book home for him, but the print is a little too small for him, so he has snagged the copy on Overdrive, but he is in the meantime finishing up a large print copy of one of her books that we have, and he began it first, and he told me, "You have got to read this book. This is a wonderful book." And meantime, a friend of mine, a retired librarian, hi Miriam, told me that this book is great too. So I picked it up next. And yeah, this is a great series. There are numerous ones of these books. And as I say, I know that they are available on Overdrive. Not sure about Hoopla, but please do check. If you haven't used Overdrive or Hoopla, go to our website, marian.lib.in.us, and click on the links for either Hoopla or Overdrive. There are great tutorials on both of them on how to use them. There's no limit on what you can check out on Overdrive, but you may have to wait. They do have hold lists there. Hoopla, there's a limit of 8 items per month, but access is instant. For Hoopla, the library pays for each item you check out. We have to pay a small charge for, so that's why use is limited, but instant access. So they work a little differently, but they are available, and we hope very much that you will take advantage of these great electronic resources that we are able to offer you. And I would also promote that we have several genealogy materials that are available to you from home if you have a library card, and I would encourage you, if you're at all interested in tracking down your family tree, this time of quarantine would be a great opportunity for you to get a jump on that. So please, in the comments section, tell me what you are reading. I would be very interested in hearing about it and whether or not you recommend it. And I hope I will be able to talk to you again next week. Take care. Bye.